Yo, what up, people? Today we're going to talk about some history. We'll be talking about how the Dutch influenced their clothes towards Indonesian people, probably because they think Indonesian people have no sense of style, but doesn't matter. Anyways, let's start this video. From the 1600s to the early 1900s, during the Dutch East Indies period, Dutch rule left a strong mark on Indonesian fashion like European styles, especially tailoring, fabric, and etiquette began to mix with local tradition. The Dutch introduced plenty of new materials like cotton, linen, and wool blends, which are slowly replaced hand-woven fabrics like batik and ikat. Not only did they bring new materials and radical styles, they even brought structured design like fitted coats, collars, long sleeves that were then adapted to suit the Indonesian tropical climate. Now, let's take a look at our first image. These are examples of traditional men headgears like kopia, sangkok, and ikat kepala or turban style wraps. During the colonial period, headgear became more standardized. The sangkok, for example, became more popular among Indonesian officials working for the Dutch government. It was a neat, modest, and reflected the European value of discipline and order. Meanwhile, the turban-style wrap often worn by religious figures stayed as a symbol of local identity, showing how the Indonesia preserved their traditions while adapting to the colonial expectations. Now, in this next image, we see several wooden figures of Indonesian men from the colonial era. Their clothes perfectly shows mix of European and local elements, even with colorful colors like one of these turbans. They wear long shorts called baju pandang combined with coats, a design inspired by Dutch fashion but was made lighter with local fabrics. This look became common among the priai or Javanese aristocrats and educated locals who worked closely with the Dutch administration. It represents a new social class of people who are modern yet still rooted in Indonesian tradition. Finally, we have the Mustikarasa cookbook. Although this book was published in the 1900s, its imagery reflects the colonial influences on the domestic life and women's clothing. The woman on the cover is wearing a kebaya, a blouse that actually evolved from the European styles worn by Portuguese and Dutch women centuries earlier. Indonesia's women combined it with a batik sarong and lace, creating a style that blended with the European modesty with local artistry. Even the domestic scene with cooking, neat dress, and household order, it reflects Dutch ideals of womanhood and respectability introduced through colonial education. To put it short, Dutch didn't actually erase Indonesians' clothing, but they transformed it through blending and adaptation. Local people adopted the European influences clothes to appear more modern, educated, and respectable under the colonial rule. This result was a unique hybrid style of the Indo-Indonesian look, traditional at heart, but refined with Western touches. Wow, that was really interesting, huh? When we look at these hats, figurines, and even its front cover of the cookbook we can see more than just objects, even though they literally are, but we can see the history, adaptations behind it, and the story of how Indonesians blended foreign influences with their own rich traditions to create a truly distinctive style. That's all for today, guys. If you managed to stay awake after all of that talking and blubbing, good for you. Thank you for listening to my video again, and I'll see you guys next time. What the hell? Why is he raining coins?
This was promised to me 3,000 years ago.